Welcome back to Blackout Studios. In today's video, we're going to walk through how to create your own long-term food storage using Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers. Okay, first the equipment list. Of course, you'll want Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, a Mylar bag sealer, or an iron. I prefer a bag sealer just because it's super quick, it's very reliable, it's intended for this purpose. An iron is a little bit trickier to use. I've had success, but if you're going to be doing lots of bags, then this is worth the investment. This special tool, which we'll get into explaining what this is for in the tips and tricks section. And then of course, all the supplies that you plan on bagging. We have a couple of examples of beans here and pasta, and there's many other things that you can put in the bags. Also, please note that in the description in this video, there'll be a link to many of these supplies, probably not the food. You can get this at the supermarket or Walmart. But the Mylar bag sealer, the Mylar bags, and the O2 absorbers, will have links for all of those for these exact products down in the description below. All right, the first tip we have for you is to practice. You're going to want to go through the process, seal them up, make sure that they hold air, that they're sealed tightly. Otherwise, you could go and spend a whole day bagging, or it really doesn't take a whole day. Spend an hour bagging, and then you'll have 100 bags and come back in 3 to 6 months, and you'll see that they've deflated or that they've swollen, right? And the food inside is not ruined because it's been a very short period of time, but the bag is ruined, right? You've thrown that away. You've wasted your time that day. Now you got to rebuy bags. You've got to transfer all the products and redo it. So instead, sacrifice a few bags. You don't need to put O2 absorbers in them. Save those. Sacrifice a few bags. Practice, right? Make sure you get the temperature correct on your sealer. Make sure you've got your clamping time established, and then test them. In order to test them, it's very easy. You really just want to load this bag up with something that will compress, and then you want to seal it up as you would seal your food bags, and then you want to place your bag with some kind of weight on top of it, pressing down. And then you'll leave that overnight, come back the next morning, and if the bag is the same size as it was the day before, success. You have sealed your bag properly, no air has escaped, even though it's being compressed by some weight, and that's great. So then you've got your process nailed down. Now you go bag your food, and you have high confidence that will actually last. So how do we do this test? Well, I like to just put a bunch of paper towels in this bag, right? So that way it creates a volume of air that is also compressible, and then seal it up. And then what do I do to weight it down? Well, I use some textbooks, I'm going to plug some of my favorites here because why not? So at the base, I'll use this big textbook, The Self-Sufficient Life and How to Live It. I love this book. I bought this book probably 25, 30 years ago. And I think it's a great, entry-level resource. It's so broad, covers so many topics, can really get you excited about any number of things. So I'll put a link for this down in the description below because I love this book, and it's just a great resource. I still flip through it today, and it makes me smile. So check that one out. So that'll serve as our base. Then we'll fill up our bag, put it here, and then we're going to put additional books on top of it. So another book I'll plug here is Strategic Relocation by Joel Skousen. This is in the 4th edition here. It might even be a 5th edition at this point. This book he wrote this book many years ago, but he's updating it. He's keeping it fresh. It was originally written, I believe, to in reflection on like a nuclear event, like a nuclear war. But this still holds water when we're talking about national level blackouts or any crisis. It could be some kind of nuclear crisis also. It really still holds water. It's a great resource. I love flipping through this one also, reading about the different places and locations. And you know what? If you pick up this book, flip through it, read about your location, and you get a little depressed about where you live, maybe you want to do more than just bagging food. Maybe you want to consider transferring your work or moving to a safer location. So we're going to put this one on top, but we want something even heavier. So we're going to double it up, and we're going to put this one here, which is the Weatherman's Guide to the Sun. So this is a plug for Ben Davidson and his YouTube channel, which is Space Weather News. And I think Ben does a great job covering the sun, and how the sun's turbulence and natural occurring events can trigger events here on the planet. He talks about topics like the Earth's disaster cycle. He goes into great depth. He's a very, very smart man. Wrote this book. This is a great guide. I've read through this, and there's some really good science in here. So I suggest picking this up. Go watch Ben's channel also. Give him a thumbs up and a like, and subscribe to his channel. I think you'll learn a lot. And let me tell you something. Ben will let you know if there's a big CME heading towards Earth. He'll tell you. You'll get a couple days of advance warning, and that's really all you can ask for. Okay, so I'm going to go through. I'm going to load this Mylar bag with some paper towels, and then we'll seal it. All right, very easy. I'll just take my roll of paper towels, rip off, I don't know, we'll see, 6, 7, something like that. Load up this Mylar bag, just so that it's nice and puffy. This is not rocket science. Just simulating a volume of food and air like this, okay? And actually, we're going to introduce here now too this tool, which I said I'd talk about in our tips and tricks, right? So this is a great little, utilitarian device. It's basically chopsticks. It's a pair of wooden dowels that have elastics, right? One elastic is kind of permanent, and the other is just temporary. So what I use this for is to hold the bag flat at the end, to create a kind of a lip, so that it's easier for the sealer. Well, it's easier for me to handle the bag and seal it at the same time. So you want to create this tool here to be maybe 1.5 to 2 inches on each side wider than the Mylar bag, right? So if you have an 8-inch wide Mylar bag, then you want this to be about 12 inches, right? That gives you 2 inches a side. Then you'll have some elastics on one end to kind of keep it together, and then you'll have another set of elastics that you just quickly wrap around this end. And now what that creates is a great flat platform for our Mylar sealer to land on. So this Mylar sealer has been heating up for about 10 minutes. I already know the heat settings, right? You probably only have to do this whole exercise once. Once you have, your process, once you have done it a couple times, you'll know that your bags will have good integrity, and you never have to repeat this. I'm repeating this today to demonstrate. So just under 3.5 is the heating level that I found works great for me. Every Mylar sealer is going to be different, so you really don't trust my setting. You should really do this yourself. Okay, so this guy's been heating up for about 10 minutes. We've put our wooden dowels there. Our bag has some volume to it, which would compress under some weight. And then just pick up my sealer. Be careful, it's very hot. And I give it about a 3 to 4 second, crimp time. That's it. And nice and easy, right? And then we can see here on the bag, you can see these crimps here. This is great, it's very hot. We're not going to touch this. We're going to let this sit for a minute or two to cool down, and then we'll load it up with weight and see if it holds air. At this point, this is fully cooled down. I don't feel any residual heat or anything. So I'll take off one end of this elastic, just gently slip off our chopsticks. And there it is. So now I'm going to do a quick pass here and just sort of push. See if I feel any air escaping. And I do not. This feels good. There you go. Pretty good. I think this is good. All right, so now we'll just load this guy up with our textbooks, a balancing act of sorts. Like this. And like that. And then I would let this sit overnight and then come back tomorrow morning. And if your bag is flat, then you got to try again. Maybe try a little bit more heat. Maybe try and hold it for an extra 1 second or 2 seconds. And you basically repeat this process until you're confident that you can just do it with with food in there and just rip through 50 bags, 100 bags, and have high confidence that they've sealed up properly. So, for the sake of expediency and because this is YouTube, I'm not going to let this sit overnight. My wife won't want me to leave my whole setup out here in the screen porch anyway. So, what I'm going to do is just show you that if I press pretty much with all of my weight, I mean, not all my weight, this bag stays inflated. I don't hear any hissing. So, process works, which is good. I feel a lot more confident about all the food I've bagged up to this point. So, do this, check it out, and then proceed. And next, we're going to dive into a couple more tips, and then we'll get to bagging. Okay, another couple tips for you. Don't overfill your bags, right? You want to fill them to have good efficiency, but if you overfill them, then you risk having a poor seal, right? You want to have plenty of working area at the end of the bag to get your crimper on there reliably and get a good seal. In my opinion, for sure, it's better to have less in each bag and a very reliable seal crimp here at the end than it is to have too much in the bag and then a poor seal, right? We're here to preserve this food for as long as possible, which means having a good seal. It doesn't help to have tons in the bag if it's not sealed properly. You just won't even know. You'll get to the food sometime in the future and it'll have all spoiled, and that's not what we're going for. And then the last tip is don't use desiccants. Use oxygen absorbers. Specifically for products like beans, if you put a desiccant in the package, it absorbs all the moisture, it pulls the moisture out of the bean, and it turns the bean into a rock. And your goal here is not to do long-term storage of rocks. You want to do long-term storage of beans. So put O2 absorbers in there. O2 absorbers pull the oxygen out of the air and prevent the nasties from growing in there. So follow those tips and you'll have good long-term storage. Before I go and throw all of this food into the bags, I wanted to quickly chat about what we're going to be putting in the bags today. So, of course, like all preppers, probably the number one is rice and beans. Rice and beans is a wonderful combination for nutrition and for long-term food storage. It stores extremely well. They're both dry goods. They both last naturally for very long times. In Mylar bags, they could last almost indefinitely. So, great option. It's also, from a nutritional standpoint, a fairly dense food with good amounts of nutrition. Rice and beans, when you eat them together, they metabolize into almost a complete protein. In order to make that protein complete, all you need to throw into your diet is a little bit of fatty fish, and you get all of your essential amino acids and proteins from that. So keep that in mind. Storing, and I'll touch upon this later, but storing, some cans of mackerel, sardines, or even some pink salmon in your long-term food storage pantry is a great idea. Now, cans don't last for 30 years. Maybe they do under the perfect conditions, but I would give these probably 10 years and then cycle them out just because. I mean, food is, in the grand scheme of things, food is pretty cheap right now. So anyway, rice and beans, number one thing to store in your Mylar bags. And a variety of beans, right? Black beans, split green peas, lentils, right? These are awesome. Black-eyed peas, pinto beans, lima beans, you name it. Beans, right? Just pack a whole variety. Now, I tend to put one type of bean only in each bag, but you can mix and match. What does it really matter, right? I mean, it's the apocalypse. We won't be picky at that time if we ever have to tear these bags open and eat the contents. So, rice and beans. The other thing I like to store, which is also really shelf stable, lasts a long time, is pasta. And I tend to pick pastas that are smaller, right? This is something like orzo. There's not a lot of features, there's not a lot of geometry to it. So this orzo, look at the size of this box, right? This is 1 pound of orzo. This happens to be a 2-pound box of elbows, but another type of pasta, a rotini or something like that, has a lot more air space in it. The box is going to be twice the size for the same weight. So, packing more orzo into each bag if you really want efficiency. Shells, right? My kids love shells. Ditalini is another good one. There is a little airspace in these, but again, they're small pasta. And they really jam in there. And then elbows. Elbows are a good space-efficient pasta also. Okay, so now we'll load up some bags and seal them. If you go with the kit that is in the description down below, your O2 absorbers will come in these convenient packaging, which has 5 O2 absorbers in each little sub package in here, which is great. So you can easily manage loading up 5 Mylar bags and dropping those O2 absorbers in there and sealing them up way before the O2 absorber has, expired. Because, as soon as you rip that package open on those O2 absorbers, it's already starting to work. So you kind of want to have everything prepped. You want to have 5 of these bags loaded up with your food, and you want to have 5 sets of these chopsticks ready to go. Your sealer should be all nice and hot and ready to go. You load these guys up, rip open that bag of O2 absorbers, throw 1 in each bag, seal them up, and then prep the next 5 bags. It's really that straightforward. So we'll start here with loading up this 1 bag. I found, I forget the exact measurements of these bags. I think it's 8 inches wide, maybe 11 inches long. But each of these particular bags holds 3 pounds of beans, right? And that seems to be the perfect level for my process. So let's go ahead and load this guy up. And you just whoop, make a mess, pour it all in there. Avoid making a mess. 1. Save those 7 beans. It might be the difference between life and death someday. 8 beans. I do remove them from the plastic. There's, I don't know if there's any risk of, having this extra plastic in there, but they do fit better if they're loose. I feel you get a better efficiency on less air taken up in here. So look at that. We're already nice, almost half full on there. We'll fit 1 more. There we go. And look at that. That is the perfect amount. So now we would take one of our chopsticks here and place it over top. Make sure it's nice and flat. Wrap this a couple times at the end just to keep it there. It doesn't have to be super tight. It's just, you just want to create a nice flat surface area. I don't know if you can see that you can see it on the camera. Nice, it's like 1.5 inches. This thing is filled up, man, like 80%. I mean, this is ready to rock and roll. So I actually wouldn't put this on yet. I would actually leave this loose so that I can, throw an O2 absorber in there, and then I would come back and wrap this up a couple times. You have a couple of minutes of working time on the O2 absorbers. You don't have to get too stressed out, but again, you do want to kind of have things ready to go. So this is 1. I'll do 4 more bags, line them up here, and then crimp them, throw O2 absorbers in them and crimp them, and then I'll have my first 5 bags. We have our 5 bags all loaded up. In this case, I have 4 bags of beans and then 1 bag of pasta. We have 5 sets of chopsticks ready to go. And we have a nice hot sealer. So let's start, okay? Here's our bag of O2 absorbers. There's 5 in this. That's why we do 5 bags. So as soon as we open this up, we want to kind of start working. Time is of the essence. So I'll drop one in the bag. Here, make sure it's buried a bit. Take a pair of my chopsticks. Put it over the top. Make sure I get a nice flat working area. Tie off the end here. Just doesn't have to be super tight. We just want it to nice flat area. Put it in the crimper and boom. Give it like a 4-second count. Nice seal. Looks good. Now don't pull this off. I leave this to the side. Since it's still, not cooled down. I don't want to get my next O2 absorber. Since it hasn't fully cooled, I don't want to make the mistake of pulling it apart until it's fully set. The I don't know, glue or whatever it is on the inside of the Mylar. Another pair of chopsticks here. An elastic on the end. Like that. Make sure it's nice and flat. Good, looks good. Beautiful looking seal. Love it. Another O2 absorber. So as you can see, nothing stressful about this. I really like these chopsticks. They really feel like they just help with the ergonomics of the sealer and getting a nice, reliable, flat surface. Beautiful. There's a little kink in this one. I'll press on this one, make sure it's sealed up afterwards. Right, that's what you want to avoid by using these. It really helps avoid those kinks, those folds, and that's really the biggest risk on sealing this up. I want to get it as flat as possible, even if that means moving it back upwards from the chopsticks a bit. There you go. Beautiful. All right, that's 5 bags. We're going to let these cool down a bit, and then we'll check them, push on them a little bit, make sure that the product in the air doesn't flow out, and then we'll conclude this video with a quick talk about what kinds of foods you should be storing, you might want to store, and some good resources online that you can reference to help you fill out your food pantry at home, and some other closing thoughts. In front of us, we have our 5 bags of food that we just sealed up, and they all look great. 4 of them went on with no issues whatsoever. Here, and you just pull the elastic, take your chopsticks off, and there it is. Look at all that. Look at all that food. This is the pasta. It's the lightest weight one. Easy to tell. 4 and 5. And this is the one that had the crimp. And I was just investigating it and taking a look at this. And you know what? Even though it has a crimp, that thing is sealed really well. This is fine. I have no concerns about this at all. So that'll go into my pantry, my emergency pantry. Okay, so some other final thoughts here. What other kinds of foods might you store? Well, I guess, why would you store food? That's the most important question, right? And if you're here watching this video, you already know the answer to that question. Anything can happen, right? The world is no stranger to tragedies on huge scales. How many times through the course of civilization have humans experienced food shortages and droughts, significant natural disasters, geopolitical disasters? I mean, you name it. Uh, it's happened, and it's going to happen again, right? We live in some really good times right now. Peace reigns. I guess in the last couple of years, it's been getting a little dicey. That's part of the motivation for us to start this channel and to develop our website. The good times might be coming to a close. We have no crystal ball. We can't make a prediction, but we can forecast that difficult times will return at some point. So why not be prepared? And that's why you're here watching this video. You want to know how to save a little bit of money by storing some of this food on your own, and you want to be ready. You want to save yourself. You want to save your family and other loved ones. It's really important. So some of the other things that we store, I store a lot of canned meats. In terms of the dry goods, would be number one in the stockpile because it's the most cost effective. It's the bulk calories, and with rice and beans and pasta, you'll survive. Life won't be fantastic. No 5 stars in these bags, but you will survive. You and your family will survive with water, of course, and defense. But I do like to store as much canned meat as possible. Protein is extremely important for us. We're omnivorous, despite what many people want to argue against. And having a variety of canned meats is important too, right? I mentioned earlier how fatty fish goes along really, really great with rice and beans. It complements that pairing, and it completes that protein so that your body is fully nourished. Pink salmon, or canned salmon, mackerel, and sardines. I try and put as much of this in the pantry as possible. Now, would I eat this every day? If I had to, I would, but I don't choose to now because that's a bit much for my palate. But again, desperate times will call for desperate measures. Spam, the ubiquitous spam. Who doesn't like a nice spam burger hamburger, right? I mean, stock up on that. Canned tuna and canned chicken. These are great. They mix with anything. They're a solid protein. Um, I do have other canned beef products and packaged beef products. I don't have them here on the table, but I encourage you to go to our website, bereadyplanner.com. And on that website, more information on what you should be storing and how much you should be storing. We have a food calculator. We have some examples of that food calculator for free on the website. Check it out. We did a family of 4 for 3 months, and I don't recall the other one, maybe a family of 6 for 3 months. And so you have some examples of just how much rice and beans and cans you would need to store in order to stock for that large of a family for that long of a time. Canned meat and dry goods in the lard are number one most important things. You also want to store oil. Oil like vegetable oil, cooking oil. I try and look for, again, the oils that have the longest shelf life. I think that's vegetable oil. Maybe not the best for you, but again, in the apocalypse, we won't have access to fancy things. We just want to keep breathing. So I do pack some vegetables. I don't do a ton. I feel like the energy density to weight ratio here is not ideal. So I tend to do like vegetable medleys, right, which has a little bit of everything, and that's kind of the extent of that. And then I target some other things which I know have some critical minerals, right, or other supplements that you'd want to get, and that's in sauerkraut, beets, and spinach, right? These are really unique among the vegetable world, and they add a lot of the essential minerals to your diet, and add some variety to your diet besides just the rice and beans. Some other things I'll stack in there would be salt, tons of salt. Salt never goes bad. I don't care that your salt from the grocery store has an expiration date. It's not just inconvenient that your salt expires, your 2 billion-year-old salt expires next year. That's not true, right? Pack up on salt. Sugar also. Sugar is a great preservative. That's why sweets last so long. And then many other things. Again, go to the website, bereadyplanner.com. Check out the resources we have there. So why do we recommend 3 to 6 months worth of food in your food pantry? And the answer is simple. The government did a study on what would happen if a EMP attack happened on the United States, an EMP attack that resulted in a nationwide power outage. And their study was very blunt and it was very frightening. They predicted that 90% of the population of the United States would be dead in 3 to 6 months. And why would they die? Well, think about your life now. your life depends on electricity, easy access to electricity. Have become extremely efficient species. Uh, we don't grow food in our backyards. Most people don't grow food in their backyards that can sustain them for the long run. And even if you were growing food in your backyard and the terrible thing happened, you'd be spending the next 3 to 6 months fighting for your lives and not necessarily tending your garden. So it is really important, even if you do have a farm, even if you do have a huge victory garden in your front and backyard, and you think you do have access to food, it's still critical to have these items stockpiled for the long run, because there will be people trying to take your food. If they see it out in your yard or on your farm, and they see corn growing, or they see cattle, or they see sheep or pigs or chickens or whatever, those animals are under threat. Those crops are under threat. So it's much better to, well, in conjunction, you should have the stockpile of food, 3 to 6 months, outlast. Your whole plan should be to hide, defend yourself, and outlast. And and then at the other end of 6 months, we get together and hopefully there's peace on the other side. So kind of a depressing thought, but we have to approach these things unemotionally. We can't ignore them because they're scary or because they put us in a bad mood or because they depress us. We have to embrace the fact that this may happen, that a crisis will occur. We don't know when, but it will occur, and that our power grid is extremely fragile. And also acknowledge that our lives are so dependent on that power grid. Um, Without power, many people don't eat. You want to make sure that without power, you can eat. One other thing I'd like to mention is the comparison between the do-it-yourself bags of long-term food versus the retail, the prepackaged long-term food. They're both great options, right? If you have the time and just a little bit of equipment, you can do this yourself, right? And you'll save, quite a bit of money. However, if you're in a rush and you have a little bit of extra money, you can, build up a small base from a prepackaged retail distributor. And we recommend Augustin Foods. Augustin Foods, I bought my first kit from Augustin Foods probably 15 or 18 years ago. I still have much of it. A lot of it is 30-year shelf life. Any of the 5 or 10 year stuff we've already gone through or gotten rid of. But rice and beans and all the standard stuff, dried milk, you name it, dried egg powder, they stock it all, they have it all. So if you want to establish a base real quick, right away, without having to get all this and do the calibration on your bags and all the rest, I encourage you to visit Augustin Farms. They are a partner. We do have an affiliate with them. The link will be in the description below. It costs you no extra by using that link. It just helps us a little bit continue to make this kind of content. I have a combination of both. I have some prepared foods from Augustin Farms, and then I have, the stuff that I stockpile. I feel like it's nice to have a variety. You could stockpile so much food for a small amount of money. If you go to the grocery store, just buy 5% extra in cans or in rice or in beans, and then a quick trip to Amazon, and you could be building up your food pantry at a record pace, ready for anything. Thank you for watching this video by Blackout Studios. We really appreciate your views. We would appreciate if you gave us a thumb up. Please leave us a comment in the comment section telling us some of your own techniques or what you like to bag in your Mylar bags in your food pantry. And I encourage you to visit our companion website, bereadyplanner.com. Check out the food calculator and many of the other resources that we have online there. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.